So the year of 2024 for Tesla is not the greatest year. We can blame interest rates. We can blame, consumer sentiments. But a lot of people are blaming Elon for buying X, which the recent rate cut when Tesla just went up 7% kind of justified that's not the case. But we know that 2024 is not the year for Tesla. The question is 2025 a better year? Is 2026 a better year? Or if you're a long-term investor, is the 2030s a better year? If you guys know me, I'm going all in into Tesla stock. I'm locking in my investments until 2030, or if the stock reaches $1,000 first, whichever comes first, then I'll think about diversifying, or at least not going all into Tesla, but relaxing myself a little bit and not tying everything in just one place. I'll have a separate video explaining my plan with Tesla stock, what I'm going to do with it in 2030, or if it reaches $1,000 first. But in today's video, I'm going to be going over my stock price prediction, the revenue, the profits, what I think Tesla could be performing from literally end of this year all the way until 2032. And I must say it's all speculation, but it's more informative and more detailed, and I think more realistic than before. So smash that like button if you guys haven't already. Let's get down to it. Subscribe, and let's just do this, because in this one I include everything: the bot, Robotaxi, licensing, insurance, energy, all these things. And I don't know, I'm sure there's other things that is going to be included here as well. It's just these guys that I just added. So let's just get down to it. Here is the chart, and yes, this is available in Patreon as well. You guys can go ahead there and play around with it if you guys are investor level and support level, or investor level above, the middle one, $15 one. If you guys have access to that, you guys can play around with it to see what you guys think could possibly happen to Tesla. And yes, this is all formulated, so all you have to do is just put the numbers in, and it's much easier in Patreon as well. I made it much easier there too. So let's get down to it. First things first, you guys can see the vehicle deliveries, the average selling price, the credit, services, leasing, and the vehicle gross profits. In 2024, it looks like the way it's going, Tesla's going to be delivering a little over 1.87 million vehicles, around there. It's a very rough year this year. And yes, we see interest rates going down, but we won't see the full effect. Maybe in Q4 we will see the full effect, or at least some effect, but we won't see it in 2025. And in 2025, I have put here of 2.3 million vehicles delivery, and then 3 million by 2026, over 4 million by 2027, 5.5 by 2028, over 7 million by 2029, 9.2 billion by 2030. Now, I know a lot of people were saying by 2030, Tesla's going to be selling 20 million vehicles. I was one of the guys out there that said that's not really possible. 20 million vehicles around that time, I don't know. Maybe if Robotaxi starts to get popular, and that's going to be majority of the vehicles, and most likely the 20 million vehicles being delivered, 60% of them are going to be Robotaxis. Just putting that out there right now. 2031, 12 million vehicles, and 2032, 15 million vehicles. And you guys can see the average selling prices are getting less and less. By 2032, I'm saying it's going to be as low as 30,000 vehicles per each vehicle sold. So that's going to be a sheesh moment. Majority of it is going to be either the Robotaxi vehicle or the compact car that's going to be like in 20,000, maybe even 25,000 around that time. Which 2032, having a car sold for around 20,000, 25,000 is absolutely madness. It's crazy. For credits, you guys can see I am reducing it down year over year, and I do expect this to happen, even though they're doing pretty well with their credits. Services, I have here all the way to 2032, almost reaching $100 billion, and this includes the supercharging and, the services and the parts, all that, with the 20% gross profits of almost 19 billion. This may be a little aggressive though, I must say. This may be a little aggressive. Maybe 20% is too high, but keeping it a little bit optimistic. And then we have leasing here of over 10, almost reaching 11 billion in 2032. And leasing for Tesla has a high margin of 41% or 40%. And that's the numbers that we get. Total vehicle revenue by 2032 is almost 450 billion. A 19% gross profit. I do expect that Tesla will have a decent vehicle gross profits when they have vehicles in mass scale because of economy of scale, and they have vehicles selling at an average selling price of around 30,000. And I'm pretty sure they can bring down their cost to maybe 20,000, maybe even less than that. with all the economy of scale and stuff like that. So that's why I gave it a very conservative number of 19%, which we would get a vehicle gross profits of $85 billion. So looking all the way now to 2032, it looks like Tesla is going to be making a lot of revenue or a lot of money just from vehicles still. But look at the other stuff, guys. We've got the FSD global revenue, the licensing, Robotaxi energy, and the bot. We will see how this will change everything. Smash that like button. Here we go. First off, insurance. Insurance is hard to figure out because Tesla's not open about it. The last number that we got was in 2023, about $500 million in revenue. We don't know if that was in profits as well, or maybe if they were losing money. We're not too sure. But in 2024 and onward, these are the numbers that I have. I'm expecting 2024, they're going to be reaching almost 900 million in revenue. Profits, I'm not even too sure if they're going to have profits or not, but I put here 5%, 45 million, but doesn't really make much of a difference in the bottom line of the business. But Tesla is growing their insurance state by state, bit by bit. The more Tesla vehicles they have on the roads in the states that are available they get Tesla insurance. So I expect this every single year to grow exponentially to the point that we reach 2032 of over $52 billion in just insurance alone, in revenue alone. And again, 2032 means that they have it available in Europe, they have it available in all of North America and most parts of the world. And by 2032, that's about, maybe over 60, 70 million vehicles on the road for Tesla globally. So 52 billion is not really, it should be more than that. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to give it a 10% rate at the maximum for the gross profits of 5.2 billion. FSD global revenue. This is where things are going to get juicy. We don't have numbers yet of how much it's happening, but it is going to be a very growing business and a very highlighted part of Tesla's business going forward. In 2025, and this is all calculated through other spreadsheets that I have. It's a lot of spreadsheets that I had to make these numbers true based on how many vehicles were delivered, how many of them are going to opt in, and this is all based on $100 a month. So down the line, 2-3 years, Tesla might go like, okay, if you guys want the full version of the full self-driving, it may be $200, $300, $400 a month. That's how I'm going based by. That's how I'm doing this by. But in 2025, I expect revenue to be around just below 1.2 billion and profits to be around 60% because it's practically free money for Tesla, the full self-driving software. It's just one over-the-air update, and then if you pay for it, it's around over 60%. I would say even 80% gross profits for Tesla, but I'm putting here 60%. That gives it almost about 700 million in profits. 2026, almost 2.8 billion in revenue. 2027, over 5 billion, then 8.2 billion, then 12 billion. And you guys can see it grows exponentially until 2032 of 33.6 billion. And even after that, it's gonna grow exponentially as well, all with a 60% gross profits. And you guys can see the profits here as well. Licensing. Tesla said they are open about it, and they are talking about 2 other OEMs about licensing. I honestly don't know how that's going to play out, but I do think that a licensing deal would happen sometime in 2027 when full self-driving is literally becoming a thing. Like right now, if you guys look at full self-driving videos, it's incredible. Imagine in 3 years' time by 2027. It's going to be insane, and I think it's going to be the main feature of getting a car, at least in the first developed countries, in the first world countries. So in 2027, again, this is all based on the calculations that I've did of how many vehicles are going to be out there compared to how many market share Tesla is going to get and how many of them are going to opt in or get licensing for Tesla, from Tesla for full self-driving. I think I made a video about this somewhere over here. You guys can check it out on how I did it. It was a little bit complicated, but we did it in a way. In 2027, I expect over 1.2 or almost 1.3 billion, 80% gross profits here because licensing is practically 100% profit, but 80%, all the way to 2032 of over $80 billion in FSD licensing revenue and 64 billion in gross profits, which is insane, which is why licensing is a very big deal. And I'm curious to see how Tesla is actually going to do this. Again, I do think that we are entering a world of autonomous, and those who are ahead will win. Who is ahead? Tesla is ahead. And it'll come to a point where the main feature of a vehicle is the car driving itself. And who does it better without any of those, big LiDAR things on their car with like 20 different cameras? That's not scalable. Tesla can with neural nets and cameras and all that kind of stuff. So I could see Tesla becoming somewhat of a supplier of other automakers to build the batteries and give them the software to license it out. I can see that happening. And it's hard to see a world where we are not entering in that's going to be autonomous driving. And if that's the world that we're going to, and I do think that's the world that we're going to, Tesla licensing full self-driving is a very high possibility, which is, the numbers are nutty. Numbers are absolutely crazy, but this is the potential of what could happen. And I think this could possibly happen if licensing becomes a thing. Now, not all OEMs, not all companies want to license it from Tesla, maybe from others, but the best ones is Tesla. And I think Tesla's going to take the most market share. So that's my thoughts on licensing. Moving on to Robotaxis, which is quite funny. It's more realistic and more easier to project than licensing, because we have a Robotaxi event coming in less than 3 weeks time. And here are the numbers of how I did it. And by the way, if you want to know how I did this, you guys can click the link here or the card in the corner here, the video here of how I came with these numbers. I think it's the greatest conservative way of me doing it. In 2026, I think that's when they're going to start doing the Robotaxi, launch it out. Maybe it could be as early as 2025, but I think 2026 is the ideal time for them to do it. I think that year they're going to do 19 million in just Robotaxi revenue with like 24% in gross profits. That's 5 million in profits. And then it just, exponentially grows. And you guys can see like from 2028 to 2029, it 10x's. And then it just doubles and then continues to, 2.5 times until 2032. And obviously, as the years go by, the numbers get crazier and flipping sheeshier. In 2032, I have here over $38 billion and profits of over $12 billion. And that's a gross profit of 32%, 1/3. So I'm keeping this conservative. And again, you guys can check the card in the corner of how I came with this number. Energy is something that's already growing, and we can actually think and actually project going forward, because now they're having a second Megapack factory in Shanghai. And I think every single year they're going to try building a Megapack factory somewhere up to 8 or 10. Putting all the numbers here in 2024, I do expect $11 billion, or this year, $11 billion in revenue and around 24% in gross profits of almost $2.7 billion. In 2025, 19 billion, all with 24% gross profits. 2026, 26.6 billion, then 37 billion, then 48 billion, then it keeps going on until 2032 of almost reaching 90 billion. And that's with like 7 or 8 Megapack factories, each of them be having a maximum capacity of 40 gigawatts, fully ramped up. 7 or 8 Megapack factories. So if you think 10, then this can go beyond 100 billion. But I'm keeping it just conservative like that. That'll give us a total gross profits by 2032 of about 21 billion, which is not bad. And honestly, quite impressive. 20 billion just coming from energy alone. And again, this is not including Powerwall or solar or anything. It's just complete Megapack factories. Just those units, energy storages. That's it. Moving on to the bot. The bot is interesting because this is pure speculation. But in a recent interview, Elon said that by 2030, Tesla could do about 1 million, produce 1 million bots. So knowing that, obviously, I'm going to be more conservative than that. I'm going to consider that in my valuation. So I'm expecting by 2026, because Elon did say that by 2026, they're going to start some sort of a mass production in a way with bots. And I'm thinking around 15,000 bots being built. Now, here's the thing. 15,000 bots, it seems like a lot, but a bot is so much easier to produce than a car. So that's why I can easily see them making 10,000, 15,000 as the first year for them to start selling. I mean, next year or end of this year, Elon did say they're going to have over 1,000 bots just in the factories alone doing things, which is insane. So 15,000 when they're ready to sell the bot or release the bot doesn't seem to sound that crazy. But 15,000 bots, each selling around 20,000, that's about $300 million in just revenue, going to give it a 10% gross profit of 30 million. The year after that, it's going to jump to 50,000. I know that's a big jump, but if they can mass produce it, they will mass produce it. 50,000 bots times 20,000, that's $1 billion in revenue. Give it a 15% because economy of scale helps here too. That's 150 million in profits. Double that in 2028 of 100,000 bots being built. That's a revenue of 2 billion. Gonna give it a 20% gross profit of 400 million. And then in 2029, double that again to 200,000 bots of 20,000 each, giving that a 25% gross profit. That's $1 billion in profits or gross profits. Then in 2030, I put here 400,000 bots being built, opposed to Elon saying 1 million. So 60% less. That's about 8 billion in revenue with a gross profit of 30%. That's $2.4 billion in gross profits. In 2031, I put here 800,000 bots being produced, around 20,000 each. That's $16 billion with a 35% gross profits of 5.6 billion. And then in 2032, we have it in crazy. We're already reaching the millions of 1.6 million bots being produced, 20,000 each, giving it a 40% gross profits because of economy of scale. That's almost $13 billion in gross profit, which is insane. It's crazy. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if they're going to sell it at 20,000 or lease it. Just because they sell it, it doesn't mean that's where the revenue stops. If they decide to sell it, they have like features that they can buy or they can upgrade to. That's going to be a SaaS-like business. You know, software as a service business, because now you're adding things. Think about your iPhone and stuff like that, right? That's gonna be a sheesh moment, and I don't even know that this thing is just, it's mind-boggling. It hurts my brain thinking about it, but you have to add the bots now because Tesla is now going full force on this thing. You just can't avoid it. You guys can see the operating cost reaching 60 billion by 2032, taxes of 25 billion by 2032 as well. And here are the revenue, net income, operations, the stock-based compensation, all the things that I think will happen, the operating margin, and you guys can see right off the bat. This year, let's talk about this year, 2024, of 105 billion in total revenue, net income non-GAAP of 6.3 billion. We'll come back to 2024 in a bit. I want to zoom all the way out to 2032. Look at that. Almost 900 billion in revenue, almost a trillion in revenue, which is insane. Net income non-GAAP of 162 billion, or GAAP, that's more important, of 160 billion by 2032, which is crazy. That's a lot. That is crazy. If you guys look at the revenue year over year, that's about a 30% growth. And for the net income non-GAAP, that's about 50% growth, which is insane. What I do want to point out is the revenue. We have almost 900 billion in revenue. Half of that is just cars. The other half is the other things that are taken over, which is the bots, Robotaxis, licensing, FSD. And again, as the years go by, I don't know if Tesla's going to continue selling more vehicles. I'm not too sure about this, but for the Robotaxis, the licensing, the FSD, those things are going to take more than 60, 70% of the company. By 2032, we're seeing 50-50. By 2035, I think it's going to be 60-40. And then it's going to keep going. 60%, 70%, other things like the bots, Robotaxi, SaaS-like margin businesses compared to cars itself. So that is an absolute sheesh moment. Look at the EPS. $1.81. That's just not that good. I think it's going to be even less than that in 2024 if there's no tax inheritance loss for Q4, just like they did in 2023 in Q4. But from $1.81 all the way to almost $46 EPS non-GAAP, which is a sheesh moment. Now, let's get down to the stock price. What would the stock price be? Because that's what we care about the most. Smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already, because this is going to get flippin' juicy. Let's go. So, end of this year, what could the stock price be by end of this year? Right now, the stock price is around 240, 235. That would be a PE if they end off with these numbers of around 131, which is just absolutely insane. But with interest rates going down, market being forward-looking, this could happen. I mean, Palantir right now is at 200 PE. Nvidia was at 300 PE at some point. And PE, companies like Tesla, you can't really go based on the PE because there's just so many things these companies are doing that it's not even been priced in yet. Some will argue, but nonetheless, we're trying to figure out a correct stock price, and that's really hard to find with Tesla. My stock price prediction by end of this year is at 350, and I'm not changing it. And 350 PE, or 350 stock price, is a PE of 192, 193, which is absurd if you ask me. However, though, I do believe that they're going to have another tax inheritance loss this year, around 7 billion. I do believe this. We'll see what happens in Q4, but that'll bring the EPS from $1.81 to $3.81, and to have 350, that's a PE of only 91, 92, which is more justifiable, right? But we're not going to put that in. I'm not even going to add that in. We're just going to go based on what may happen. I think around 150, ending this year on 272 would make sense. That's what I'm going to say. Even though my stock price target is 350 end of this year. We'll see what happens. All depends on Q3, which you guys can check the video here, what I think Q3 is going to be. 2025, on the other hand, we do have like around a 50% increase in EPS non-GAAP and just non-GAAP net income. I'm going to give it a PE of 120. There's a stock price of around 323. Now again, we may have another tax inheritance loss then too, maybe around, again, another 7 billion, which could bring the PE as low as 80 or even 90, which the stock price can go back to all-time highs justifiably, right? But I'm not even going to add that in. Again, I'm trying to be conservative, trying to be not bearish, but trying to be very conservative, I guess. So 120 PE, that's a stock price around 323 bucks per share, a market cap of 1 trillion, which I think is going to be a lot more than that in 2025. Again, not financial advice, this is my opinion. 2026, a PE of 110, that's a stock price of 410, market cap of 1.3 trillion. 2027, I'm going to give it a PE of 100, that's a stock price of 562, because now we're getting the bots in, now we're getting all these other things in full force. Wall Street is seeing this and adding it into their valuation. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see Tesla in the 100 PEs for the next 3 years. I'm just saying that. That will bring Tesla's stock price to 1.8 trillion or a stock price of 562. In 2028, a PE of 85, that's a stock price of 770, $2.5 trillion by 2028. And again, I think it's going to be more than that. I think the PE is going to be a bit more than that as well. But again, keeping things conservative, 2029, PE of 75, that's a stock price of 1,000, which is a market cap of almost 3.4 trillion. ARK Invest is saying double this. They're saying double this, but that's because they're saying Robotaxi is going to be like 600 billion, which is, I don't know how that's going to happen, but they're saying double this. And if they're right, that valuation is correct. But I'm saying here $1,000 by 2029. 2030, a PE of 70. That's a stock price of 1623 and a market cap over almost reaching 5.3 trillion. 2031, a PE of 65. We get a stock price of 2141 and a market cap of almost 7 trillion. And 2032, a PE of 60. There's a stock price of over 2,700 bucks per share and a market cap almost reaching 9 trillion. So that is a sheesh moment, more than a 10x than what it is now until 2032. Now, am I being conservative here? Maybe. I don't know. This is hard. Like, for example, the FSD licensing is hard to predict. It really is. The bot, we don't know yet because that's still fully speculative. But we have to add it here and consider it. 2,700 bucks per share by 2032 or 1,000 bucks by 2029. My stock price of around, for 2030 is around 1,500. So I would say, what is this, 670 PE? I'm going to bring it down to around 1565 PE of around 4.9 trillion for 2030. That's my stock price and my stock price prediction and what I think is going to happen by 2030. But this is what I think that could possibly happen. And we can see that Tesla is no longer going to be known as a car company. Yes, they're still going to make cars and sell cars and, you know, benefit from their software from their cars, you know, full self-driving, robotaxis, and so many other things that's going to come with it. And don't forget the bot as well. But as the years go on, after the 2030s, we're going to see this shift change. That right now, if it's 80% cars and 20% other things with Tesla, this will change. It'll be 50-50 first. As we see in 2032, it'll be 50% cars, the entire business of Tesla, and 50% the other stuff. Then it'll just switch. 60% other stuff, 40% cars, and, you know, 70%, 30%, 80%, you know, until it gets to a point where it's just like the vehicles just become a rounding error number. That's it. That's what I think, guys. I know this is a lot. And again, this is available on Patreon. You guys can play around with it too. But comment down below, what do you guys think of the long term of Tesla in the 2030s? I'm more bullish than ever because of full self-driving. It's in the completion. Sorry, I'm just so excited. It's on the verge of being completed and solved. That's very exciting. And they're about to enter China and Europe and other places. That is, and we got Robotaxi as well. So we have a lot of exciting things coming. Interest rates are going down. That's going to help Tesla as well. So we are entering a very interesting stage of Tesla, and we will see mid-decade or in a couple years time how that's going to change for Tesla as well with the bot, with the Robotaxi and all that kind of stuff. But comment down below, what do you guys think? What's your price target until 2030? What's your revenue and profits? What are you guys thinking? And you know, comment down below. I'm interested to see what you guys think. But we are long-term investors, so we care about this stuff until, you know, 2030, 2031, 2032. Let's come back a bit. Let's talk about Q3 because Q3 is about a month away. And here's what I think what could possibly happen to Q3. And if this happens, if we do beat Q3 earnings, I think 300 bucks is in the size. It's pretty much secured. So check the video out, guys. Subscribe. Get your I Bought Dip t-shirt. To get 10% off by saying Dip Catcher if you guys bought the dip. you guys need this shirt, and I bought the dip t-shirt. I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you all. See ya.